Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, and we're going to talk about the very distinct and significant problem that Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition has, which is balancing acquisition and ECM, which is existing customer management. I realized recently, based on a personal encounter, that Dungeons & Dragons has a huge acquisition and ECM problem. Has a huge problem balancing acquisition and existing customer management. So let's talk about this. So first of all, let me define my terms. All businesses struggle with this issue. Pretty much all businesses struggle with this issue. How do they balance trying to gain new customers with dealing with existing customer and at the same time keep existing customers happy? A perfect example of this problem is like the cable company. They're like, oh, if you come on, we'll give you a rate of $80 a month, right? But existing customers are like, I'm paying $140 a month. You want me to quit your service and then re-enter, right? Like, so you're doing something to acquire new customers, but you're upsetting existing customers, right? And Dungeons & Dragons has a massive problem with this. The balance is way off. I think the balance with Dungeons & Dragons, the Dungeons & Dragons focus on acquiring new companies. Dungeons & Dragons focus on acquiring new customers is 2%, and its existing customer management focus is 98%. Those are the numbers I'm attaching. When I look at the game, I think Dungeons & Dragons, Wizards of the Coast, Hasbro Gaming does an absolutely horrendous job of acquiring new players. Just terrible, right? And does a great job of doing existing customer management, right? It's horrendous how bad this issue is, right? So, first of all, I want to just tell you a story and tell you why we're talking about this today. So, the reason we're talking about this today is it became a real, very current, immediate problem for me as a person, right? Not from a Dungeons & Dragons perspective, but I'll explain why. So, I have a good friend. We meet and we have dinner every now and then. And my friend, and we're talking about exercise, right? What we do for exercise. So my friend said, what do you do for exercise? I ride bicycles. I really like bicycles. What do you do for exercise? And he said, I go rock climbing. I was like, oh, wow, that sounds awesome, right? And he's like, I think your kids would really like the rock climbing place I go to, right? Now, I have a junior high son. I have a daughter who just graduated college, okay? Still at home. I'm fortunate. That situation won't happen. I don't think she's going to be home that long, unfortunately. We have no rush for her to go. We're very happy that she's still at home. But she's coming to the age where she very well may be leaving. And then I have a high school age daughter, right? So I'm like, bet, we're there. Like, just give me the address of the rock climbing place we're going to go. So we go, right? I dropped 3 people in on day 1, right? Actually, we could only take 2. My high school age daughter had play practice and couldn't go. So my junior high son and my college age daughter, right, they go with me. They have a blast. I put out $70 for the first session for the 2 of them. They had so much fun. They literally climbed I think it was like a 70, 80-foot wall, right? It's super high. It was a really, really, they had a really good time. It was like, and they did bouldering, they did shorter climbs, they did longer climbs. They had a blast. It was fantastic, right? My high school age daughter is upset because she missed out, and the stories coming back from the rock climbing place are fantastic, right? From my junior high age son and from my college age daughter, and I brought them all and I paid the bill, right? So this is so successful, right, that I immediately said to my high school age daughter, no problem. We'll go, right? We'll go this week. I'll take you for a session, and I'll take the other 2 too, right? Now, at this point, I'm looking to drop $90 to $120 for the second session, right? It's no problem. Like, with my kids, I've reached a point where I can spend this kind of money, and I was like, this is a huge hit. I think we'll frequent this at about every 2 weeks, right? So I'm looking to drop $200 a month minimum on rock climbing. And that's if they just keep doing what they're doing. If they get into equipment or anything like that, now we're at $2,000 a year. I was expecting that this new hobby would be $3,000 to $4,000 out of pocket every year for us, right? So I called the place up and I'm like, hey, we loved it. we're in. We want to do round 2 this Saturday. We're coming in, and you have to make reservations, right? I'm like, we're coming in at 6, and we'll go till 8, right? And they're like, well, you got a new climber. They can't come in at 6. So I had rerouted my whole weekend to make this thing happen, or rerouted my whole Saturday to make this happen. So, I get off the phone with no reservation made, right? And by the way, this ain't the owners of the company. This is some knucklehead. They like just one of their regular, not a knucklehead, just one of their regular employees. Because I think if I got a manager, this might have changed, right? But they're like, nah, sorry, we can't get you in, right? And I'm like, okay. Then and they're like a mom and pop. I'm not sure they even knew we were returning after being blown away by our first visit. So then I call back and I'm like, okay, fine. We're all coming in Saturday at 11. Book us for 3 climbers. Book us for 1 starter package, and the other 2 are going to do custom packages, and they'll climb as much as they want, and I'll pay for all of it, right? And they're like, oh, sorry, can't bring in. We're packed. I'm like, okay, bye. Right? Get off. After 2 attempts to schedule this, they turned me away, and I got goose egg nothing, right? Now I'm like, oh, darn. I can't come and climb anymore, right? This is an acquisition. They have the ability to get a new customer. I'm going to drop $2,000 to $4,000 in the next year alone with their company. But they can't get me in because they're doing existing customers, right? Now, here's the issue, right? Were they right? They were dead wrong, right? Like, I hate to say it, but like they might have wanted to, hey, Bobby Joe, I know you're here every week, but maybe could you come in at 4 and we're going to give you a free pass? Hey, I know you're coming in at 11 a.m. and you have a group of 3, but guess what? If you come in at Sunday, your entire visit is free. And, and Coke drinks are on us, right? Whatever, like, vitamin water or whatever they sell, right? That would have been keeping the existing customer happy, and the acquisition would have happened. But I'll tell you right now, I'm done. I ain't going back, right? And I'm not going back. Well, I'm not going to be at that rock climbing place again. I called twice, right? And they're like, you can go jump in a lake, right? And I'm like, fine, okay, yeah, you can't get me in, but that's it. Like, I got, and it's not that I'm trying to be bitter against them or anything. I got a million things to do, right? Like, I need another hobby. Like, I need a hole in my head, right? Like, my kids are like, I'm already doing archery with one of my daughters. We play lots of board games. I got other stuff, right? I'm not going to circle back, right? This is the problem Dungeons & Dragons has. It is doing an absolutely atrocious job of acquiring new customers. When new customers come in, the game is too complex. It is incredibly costly, right? It's costly. It is, like $50 for your first buy-in, and you really need the PHP to play, right? That's a fact, right? People pretend you don't, you do, right? So all this is going on, and this is a lot. It's just like, the other, there's just so many problems to becoming a D&D player, and I think we lose a ton of players. Here's the other one: you bring in your new players, right? And they have a crap dungeon master. You're done. You got 4 people around the table. Dungeon master sucks. You're finished. Terrible acquisition, right? Dungeons & Dragons is absolutely horrible at acquiring new customers, and incredibly good at existing customer management, right? But it's a problem. There should be a balance, right? And just like this rock climbing company, they don't have that balance right. Here's another big clue that Dungeons & Dragons is just Wizards of the Coast is absolutely horrible at acquiring new customers. Who's the best company in the world at acquiring new Dungeons & Dragons players? I'll tell you right now, it ain't Dungeons & Dragons. It isn't Wizards of the Coast. It isn't Hasbro Gaming. It's Critical Role, right? Like whatever company they got like underneath Matthew Mercer's Critical Role. I think it has some name. I have no idea, right? Whatever Matthew Mercer's LLC is, that's the best company in the world at bringing in a new Dungeons & Dragons players. Matthew Mercer does a better job than Hasbro and Wizards of the Coast by a factor of 3. Nothing has driven more new players to Dungeons & Dragons than Matthew Mercer. So if some voice actor does a better job than your multi-billion-dollar corporation at acquiring new players, like, yeah, you're not good at it, right? And I really felt very bad for this mom and pop rock climbing place. I was ready to drop $2 to $4 grand in the next year. We were hyped, right? When I called twice and they're like, you can go jump in a lake, I was not so hyped, right? Like I really felt bad. I felt like they didn't care about me, and they didn't, right? And I'll tell you right now, like that employee they had, I think if the mom and pop themselves who owned that place, they would have been torqued if they had figured out. But they're small. They just don't have the data. They don't have like the customer service. It's just sad. But Hasbro doesn't have that excuse. Nor does Wizards of the Coast. They got to get this fixed. Their balance between acquisition and existing customer management is absolutely terrible, and it's got to get better, in my opinion. That's my opinion. What do you think? What do you think the percentages are of how Wizards of the Coast deals with acquiring new customers, and how they deal with dealing with existing customers? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Let me know in the comments below. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.